What if I told you that the elites are planning on freezing your money, freezing your bank accounts, and even freezing your assets? That's right. This is exactly what the elites are planning, and Jim Rickards is sounding the alarm on this. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. If we go back to January of 2023, it feels like forever ago, but this was an article that got put out and it was titled, "Everywhere You Look, the Economy is in a Deep Freeze." But does that mean a recession is coming? Now, we all know how 2023 panned out, right? We had a lot of major bank collapses, but for the most part, markets did perform very well. And now, as we really kind of look at what's happening, everyone is thinking that the economy has bounced back, that inflation is fine, everything's, returning back to normal. But that is, not the case. We actually have here that after years of cheap money helped fuel the rise of speculative investing and profitless business models in the US over the past decade, stubborn inflation has forced the Federal Reserve to increase interest rates faster than ever before in 2022. Now, though they are starting to cut rates, the big thing is inflation. Inflation is still here, and it's still a very big problem. And over here from Jim Rickards, he actually was recently on an interview discussing this, talking about how, as you look at the economy right now, it's still not doing good. We're still at that point in time where there's only really one outlet, which is a major crisis. Check this out.
The economy is not doing well at all. There's some data that says it is, and that's always front page news or headline news, etc. Most recently, we saw the September jobs report, which came out in early October, and it showed that unemployment went down and job creation was above expectations. There is so much less there than meets the eye in a number of respects. Number one, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I'm not saying anybody's making up the numbers, but you know as well as I do that you can play all kinds of games with statistics. They have something called a seasonal adjustment. That's a lot of discretion. That's a lot of subjectivity. You can fade that in your favor, number one. Number two, a vast majority of the jobs that were created that they reported were government jobs. Would it be surprised if word went out from the White House, hey, all you government agencies, if you're hiring anybody, do it in September because we want a really good number for October. And by the way, this is the last employment report before the election. The next one comes out November 8th. Well, that's after the election. So they got a good print, but before the election. And then also, CNBC and MSNBC, all these people, they don't really get into the weeds on this stuff, but you should, because you see that the vast majority of these jobs are part-time. Now, there's dignity in all work. I'm not criticizing anyone who's got a part-time job. It's great that you're out there working, but part-time jobs are not going to drive consumption, not going to drive the economy. So a lot of government jobs, a lot of part-time jobs, seasonal adjustments. Their sample size was smaller than usual, so there's so much less than meets the eye in that number. I wouldn't put a lot of faith in it. Meanwhile, there are lots of other numbers that are moving the other way, and particularly with regard to the Federal Reserve. Inflation numbers came out yesterday and today. A little hotter than expected. Headline inflation was down 1/10 of 1%. Okay, still above the Fed's target, but what they call the core, which has less volatile elements, went up. I'm not saying hyperinflation is around the corner. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the battle against inflation is not over. And there's also a lot of misunderstanding, Peter, as you know. People say, the White House would say prices are coming down. They're not coming down. Inflation may be going down a little bit, although in the most recent month it actually went up. But even if inflation is coming down, prices are still going up. It just means they're going up at a slower tempo, but they're still going up. And all the inflation we've had for the last 2.5 years is still there. You'd have to have deflation where prices actually go down to remedy any of that. We've had no deflation. We've had continued inflation, just at a slower tempo. So it's a bad package.
So yeah, as we really look at the previous month, inflation is back, and it's back in a very large way. And ultimately speaking, when you look at the mainstream media, especially a lot of the articles, just like Jim Rickards is saying, Yeah, a lot of them are saying that the economy is fine, it's roaring, it's good, everything's all fine. And it's because we are in election year. We're in election year. They're manipulating the media. They're manipulating you. They're lying to you. And they're not telling you the truth. Over here we have breaking. The German economy is now likely in a recession with no more growth seen this year, per Bloomberg. So the entire world right now, you could argue, is in a recession. Nobody's saying it though. Nobody's saying the big R word because everyone's terrified to say it. And mainstream media is not going to report on this. They're not going to report on it until it is too late. Also, just in, China to provide stimulus of $325 billion to support the economy. Yeah, let's celebrate this because it sounds like this is pure productivity, right? No, they are now starting to stimulate the economy because it is either one, falling, or two, stale. The economy is stalling, so they have to now stimulate it through stimulus. This is not going to end well. It's not going to end well. They can prop it up for a little bit more time, but we already know that this is going to soon hit a point where it is a brick wall. It stops. All of a sudden, we start to see either one, a slow bleed, or two, a massive crash. And it's going to have contagion effects. Now over here, we're potentially right here with the Federal Reserve doubling interest rates during a recession like 1968. And yes, here we have it. You can look at it. This is the effective federal funds rate. This is concerning. Where we are at right now is very concerning. And also down here, we have the US 10-year yield is getting squeezed between two parabolic trend lines. The trend breakout in November will determine if we're in the 1970s or 2008. And yeah, we are definitely at very concerning points right now where a lot of people are just on the edge of their seat waiting to see if this is going to be, like any point in time previously in history. And a lot of those points in time are all either major recessions, significant, collapses. It's definitely going to be interesting on where we're headed. But what about the elites? What do the elites have planned for us? Well, check this video clip out from Jim Rickards. This is telling you what's coming and what's happening.
I was having dinner with a friend not long ago in New York City. We met at a place called Oriole, which is in Midtown. My dinner companion that night was a senior advisor to BlackRock. As you may know, BlackRock is now the largest asset manager on the planet. It directly manages $5 trillion in assets, and it oversees another $11 trillion through its Aladdin platform. That means one firm controls more money than the GDPs of China, Russia, and Japan combined. Anyway, my dinner companion happens to work directly for BlackRock's CEO. As we nursed our white wine and the evening wore on, she let something slip. If I remember her words, she said something like, "They want to tell us we can't sell." What was she talking about? Who was she talking about? I placed a few calls, first to my contacts in Washington, then to a few people on Wall Street. Soon I was on a plane for a series of meetings to London, to Geneva, back to New York, then down to South America. As I began connecting the dots, a pattern emerged. It revealed a network of more than 189 individuals positioned inside the world's major financial institutions. Some of them hold senior positions inside the IMF, World Bank, and every central bank in the G20, including our own Federal Reserve. These elites share one vision, and they're about to make it a reality. That vision is one world order, one world taxation, and one world money. They've worked for years behind the scenes preparing to realize that vision. They've literally rigged the laws of international finance. Everything is basically in place right now, and there's essentially no way to stop this from happening. When the crisis hits, they'll flip the switch, freezing the global financial system. That will give them time to reset the world economy according to their vision. As the coming crisis unfolds, President Trump will be powerless to stop it. In fact, trying to stop them would probably weaken the president's power altogether.
That is amazing, Jim, really. So what did these elites want from your contact at BlackRock?
Basically, they want to classify BlackRock as too big to fail. The technical term is Systemically Important Financial Institution, or SIFI. That designation normally applies to banks, such as Bank of America. If your bank gets the SIFI label, it means the government will bail you out first in a crisis. But it also means you must turn over control of your bank until the crisis subsides. In this case, they're trying to reclassify BlackRock, an asset manager, as too big to fail. If they succeed, they'll be able to freeze BlackRock when the crisis hits. BlackRock clients won't be able to sell.
They won't be able to buy either. Their accounts will go dark indefinitely, and the elite operatives will take control of BlackRock's assets remotely via the internet. But our research shows that their ICE 9 plan goes much, much deeper than that.
Now, you refer to their plan as ICE 9. You just said that. What does that mean?
It's a reference to the Kurt Vonnegut novel, Cat's Cradle. In the book, a mad scientist creates a new form of water molecule called ICE 9. When it comes in contact with other water molecules, it freezes them at room temperature. One drop of ICE 9 can freeze the whole ocean. And that's what these elite operatives are about to do to the world economy.
Now, can you share with our viewers exactly who these operatives are and what their ultimate goal might be?
Like I said, John, more than 189 elite agents have slowly wormed their way into leadership positions across the board. They now sit at or near the head of the IMF, the World Bank, and even our own Federal Reserve. They also control much of what happens at the central banks of China, Russia, India, Brazil, Canada, and Europe. As you know, these institutions form a kind of global superstructure. It forms a kind of snare net encircling all nations. Their leaders aren't democratically elected. They're not accountable to you and me. They're beyond the reach of government and citizens, and yet they hold the fate of the global financial system in their hands. To get a sense of how they operate, imagine an array of floating spheres. One sphere is labeled IMF. One is labeled Fed. One is labeled Bilderberg. One is labeled Wall Street. One is labeled central banks. One is labeled intelligence agencies. One is labeled media, and so on. The elites inhabit all of these spheres, and together the network forms a kind of 3D Venn diagram. As I see it, regardless of what sphere they inhabit, the elites all share the same vision: one world order, one world taxation, and one world money. All of their actions are geared toward moving that agenda forward.
Now, are you able to share the identities of these elites with our viewers?
We've identified more than 189 individuals who are in many cases hiding in plain sight. Regardless, they all share the same vision: one world order, one world taxation, and one world money. A short list would include Christine Lagarde, Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, IMF; Mark Carney, Governor of the Bank of England; Raghuramji Rajan, Vice Chairman of the Bank for International Settlements; Haruhiko Kuroda, Governor of the Bank of Japan; William C. Dudley, President of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York; Agustin Carstens, Governor of the Bank of Mexico; Janet Yellen, Chairman of the Board of the Federal Reserve System; Mario Draghi, President of the European Central Bank; Zhu Min, former Deputy Managing Director of the IMF; Zhou Zhiuquan, Governor of the People's Bank of China; Robert E. Rubin, Chairman of the Council on Foreign Relations. This A-list of central bankers and other elites is just the tip of the iceberg.
And yeah, it is. This goes very, very deep. I mean, they are integrated on almost every aspect, but I do love the fact that Jim Rickards did bring up BlackRock, because it's not just going to be bank accounts that are frozen. It's not just going to be, major credit unions that are frozen. It's also going to be the ETFs, the stock market, everything. When we look at BlackRock holding such a significant amount of Bitcoin, now you could start to see a large portion of Bitcoin and even crypto getting frozen. This is where we really look at both sides of the story. If we are about to see a ICE 9 situation where the entire economy is frozen, first off, it needs a very big event. Something like a debt crisis, a significant recession that is much worse than a recession, probably one of the largest economic collapses in history, which it feels as though we're really kind of brewing for that. Then guess what? That means that bank accounts, credit unions, stock market, ETFs, everything that everything of value that you can buy, sell, trade will be frozen. And this is what we need to be prepared for, because this plan, this elite's plan, it is deeply rooted into almost everything that we know on a day-to-day basis. So with that being said, if you guys did enjoy this video, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.